Record. Hello, this is Michael Tabb. We are in April of 2018. The classes that I am teaching currently are character creation and development, as well as writing for film and animation, the latter of which is basically screenwriting. And I'm here. We have one student who's shown up to this month's go-to training so far. And I'm just going to open the floor up for questions and see if he has any. Mr. Wellis. Do you have any questions
Yes, sir.
about anything with that, any of the lessons or something you're working on?
Sir, I just have mainly some details as far as turn in of the assignment
Sure.
on the premise and log line. Do you want it on the top of the first page? Did I read the instructions right on that, or do you want it on the title page? Because I know in our previous class we did the title page with that.
You know, you could do either. Either is fine as long as it's there for us to look at.
Okay, sir.
And when you really submit the script, it would actually go in a cover letter, not even on the script. At least the log line would. You wouldn't tell anybody. I don't tell people my premise, because if the material doesn't make it clear what it is I'm trying to say, then I haven't said it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but people do like to know what they're reading about, so I include a log line when a script is sent out. I make sure they have the log lines to send. So we go, oh, okay, that's what I'm reading. All right, I know what this is about, blah, 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 and they can start reading. But yeah, yeah, you can throw it on the cover or the top of the first page, either way.
Okay, sir. And a second question is, and again, I've been on the fly this week, so I'm sorry if I didn't get the detailed enough as I was reading. But the revision for the foundation stuff, that's a separate attachment you won't submit it as well, correct?
Yes. You're not going to be able to fit that you're not going to put that in the actual script. That is going to be a separate attachment.
Okay,
it's going to be a Word document, and it's good for. I like to keep that with the script so that when people are looking at your script, if something's not working or they don't understand why, you can always reference back to that and see what the intent was of the writer and see if something's not coming across in the actual writing of it. Because sometimes even I will, I plan to do something, I've written it the way I think it, and then something isn't clear in the writing. Like I'm writing this script right now professionally for a producer, client, and I give my scripts to friends to read who I trust their opinions, and they thought that a certain thing didn't have any tension to it, but it's because I buried a piece of very important action between two other pieces of action in a single paragraph, and quite simply it was missed. And if you don't know that piece of information, you're not understanding the tension that's building. So I realized that I had to separate that into 3 paragraphs so that they would make sure and make sure I really hit that one thing, that piece of information they need to know, which is one of the characters is already married and they're having an affair. So if you don't realize that they're putting back on their wedding ring after rendezvousing with somebody, the whole tension of everything that's going on is missed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understand.
So it's great to get feedback that way, and and it's great that people can. You want them to know what everything you planned on showing in case it's something's not coming across. Any other questions?
At this time, that's all I've got at this time, sir.
And we have another student who's joined us. Is it pronounced Russian? Ms. Russian? Yes. Okay. If you have any questions, just so you know who are listening to this, there is a chat window, and people can type in the chat window. They do that sometimes because, for example, if they're in a location where it may be too noisy to be heard. Do you have any? Did you have any questions you wanted to ask about the assignments or what's going on in the class or something you're thinking about? Just so you all know, we are in week 3 of the classes. We've started week 3. The Land Before Time is playing in the background. I have no questions right now. Okay, so she has no questions. All right, so that leaves me with talking about the assignments that are due this week that I want to make sure everybody understands well. This week in character creation and development, which is the second writing-based program class, we are turning in the a list of all of the major characters for the story and doing it using the exact wording you're supposed to use with the blanks filled in properly. So we're going to have a protagonist inner journey, a protagonist outer journey. You're going to have the antagonist goal. You're going to have now this week, you're adding the mentor, uh, who is trying to help the protagonist's outer journey and listing three ways in which this mentor physically does things that prepares the protagonist to succeed in their outer journey, teaches them things. What are they going to teach them? And it has to be visual because we're working in a visual medium when it comes to movies and television shows. Then the next thing is we have a love interest, and that character is going to be inspiring the protagonist's inner journey, and they do three physical visual things that are going to inspire the protagonist to change their ways, whether it's negatively responding to them acting the way they are at the beginning of their character arc, engaging in their character flaw, or by supporting how they're acting when they are acting out in their character cure, which is the opposite, the exact opposite of the character flaw. Uh, so they need to have three things, and then you have, of course, the protagonist's reflection character, and that character is supporting the outer journey, but they don't have to necessarily be the teacher or the educator of the protagonist. They are supporting them in other ways, whether it's going with them on the fight, whether it's giving them advice about something, whether it's being an example of what not to do or what to do, or by dying for the cause that they're realizing how important it is. Those are all things the character can do to help hold the protagonist's feet to the fire in pursuing their outer goal. Um, the and that's that. And you also have to, of course, include the genre and the premise. The premise, I will be checking as to whether the premise and the protagonist's inner journey really connect. That the protagonist's inner journey is proving the premise. That's really important. Like a lot of the times, what I will make sure of when I write a premise is that one of the two sides of what the protagonist's inner journey is, either the flaw or the cure, one of those words is actually in the premise, so that it's literally part of what the journey is going through, and it's literally what you're trying to prove. And it makes clear what it is you're doing. So remember, all of these characters are being designed to say one thing, and that's what good plotting and structuring does. And that's what you're turning in this week, along with your brainstorm, hopefully of 120 images if you want. But you can turn in the brainstorm with all the images for not your story, but for your genre. It doesn't have to apply to your story, but it has to be. Every image has to be specific to the genre, so you're still picturing what it is you're saying. And then we have the other class, which is writing for film and animation, i.e., screenwriting. And in that class this week, you are writing your very first draft of a screenplay. This week 3 is the only week you didn't have to turn anything in either of my classes on a Wednesday, because I'm giving you all week until Friday to write the first draft of the script. It doesn't have to be limited to 10 pages, the first draft, but know that that's what you're shooting for, is under 10 pages. I think 7 pages is the ideal short screenplay length for a short film. Remember, you want to hit all 3 acts, make sure it has good structure, just like a good scene will have good structure of beginning, middle, and end. You want to make sure the short film is satisfying, and that it sets up a great concept and a great story and a great statement worth making. So you write the first draft of that, turn that into the discussion group on Friday, and you apply all the rules of screenwriting, all the formatting rules that are laid out in the excellent formatting guide that I supplied, the excellent formatting sheet, as well as everything you've learned from previous classes. And then in Sunday, everyone is providing a very, very detailed set of feedback for at least one student. And that feedback has to have at least three script formatting kind of errors listed, checked, proven. Six, you got to find them because they're going to be all over the place. I have almost never found a student script I couldn't find all those errors in. If you're having trouble finding errors, then go to next week, grab the editing cheat sheet from next week in the editing lesson, and download it. And there's a list of 35 pages of things you can check for editing, and you can use that to help you. But make sure, if it's a 10-page script, you got to have at least 30 script notes, as well as at the very end of your script, including the italicized questions answered fully, not just yes or no, full answers and explaining why or why not things are working in that way. And that's that. So it's amazing that you're going to be writing your first full 3-act open and closed story. And I'm really excited to see it. You've got 10 pages, which is probably more than most of you have written so far in the program for a single assignment. Not that you could have done more. It's okay. And I just look forward to seeing all of that. Now, do the students who are here have any questions based on my description of the assignment and what is due? Okay. I'm not getting any questions. So, does anybody have questions about anything else before we end the session? I'm really glad you showed up, but I want to make sure. Yes, I have somebody speaking. This is good. Hello? Did somebody speak other than me?
Oh, it was probably me. I was just laughing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I was just able to log on. I'm having logging in issues. So, um, I guess I can bring up what happened last week. I saw your notes for week 2, and the specific wording for the antagonist and what he's trying to do. And I was trying to find you the video why I changed mine. Something you had said. Um, like you gave a specific wording. I see that now of how you wanted us to answer the antagonist goal is to
Because it
XYZ.
puts you in a situation to answer it fully. Yes.
Right. But at the same time, I believe it was last week's session. I couldn't find the video, but you said something along the lines of the antagonist has his own journey. His goal is not to just fight against the
That's right. It has to be proactive.
protagonist. His goal is not to stop the protagonist. His goal
Right.
is to just do whatever his goal is, and
Right.
along his finding his goal, it ends up, uh, I guess, stopping the protagonist in his tracks. But he's like, so the wording of saying that, and this will stop the protagonist from. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I don't have my computer with
That's
me
all right.
right now. But so that is why I changed the wording to not say that. So I was kind of a little confused on that because,
Well,
like,
hold on.
you're
I have everyone's assignment here. Let me. I have it on my computer. So give me
perfect.
a second. And this is Mr. Eldritch, right?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm accessing you from the phone for the first time today, so it's a little different.
Okay. Let's see here. Protagonist. Okay, the antagonist. Okay, the antagonist is trying to embezzle money by exploiting. Yeah, but what is he? My question isn't. This still has nothing to do with the protagonist. What is he embezzling the money for, other than just to get rich?
Personal gain, right? That's all.
It's vague. That's all.
Right. Okay.
You
Oh,
you
okay.
want, you want he wants the money to do something. Give these guys a goal. Like if he wants to, like for example, if he wants to start the first record label back in what is this, the 1930s,
Right. 1920s and 30s.
1920s and 30s. That's what I thought. If he wants to, imagine this guy wanted to be before his time the very first ever Suge Knight. You know, really creating the black music producer, um,
Right.
and do it in a real gangsta style. Um, then he has a goal. He's going to have a label. He's going to have a hit album. That's something I can picture. That's a goal I can wrap my mind around. That explains why he's greedy,
Right.
why he needs the money, why he needs their contract, why
Okay.
he needs them to do what he says, because he
Okay.
has a goal. Just vaguely self-benefit. It's not.
Right.
It's not going to give your audience. It's not that. Look, a lot of movies do that. And do you
Right.
really care about those villains, or are they more just means to an end? You know what I mean? They're
Right. Exactly.
and they're vague, and it's just like rich and power. That's what I want. And it's like, why don't you just twirl your mustache while you're at it? You know,
A good point.
exactly. So I'm just advising that you take the
That's
idea of
great.
the character wanting to make all this money off of the backs of great musicians and give him a reason for doing it and a goal. You know,
Perfect. Sounds great. I like that. The other thing was I really love that. That's awesome. The other thing was, so I do need to word it in a way that in that statement where it says, and this stops our protagonist by XYZ. Do I need to add that then?
yeah. That's why I
Okay.
have it there. And this would stop
Right.
our protagonist. That's why that's part of the phrase. Is because if you put the two things together, when you write the antagonist,
Correct.
what his goal is, at the end of it, you have to write what the protagonist's goal is, and according to the statement, it has to conflict. The two things have to
Right.
conflict. And if you read that over and it's not conflicting, you know it doesn't work yet.
All right, good deal. I misunderstood you on our last session, I believe, where you had said where the antagonist has his own journey that's separate from the protagonist's journey,
You're
and
absolutely
he's
right.
not purposely trying to. So I got a little confused there. All right,
But you
perfect.
didn't
I
misunderstand
really
me.
like
You
your
were right.
feedback
You
on
were
that.
right last week. It is right. It's not. It's not. He does have his own journey. You were right. It's just the wording. It's just how to word it so that it's clear that every character has their own thought process, their own goals, their own. Even I even think of reflection characters who are really there just to help the protagonist. They got to
Right,
have a reason. They got to have something. They have to have skin in the game for them to actually take take on and support whatever it is the protagonist is doing, if you know what I mean.
right, and that leads me to another question.
Great.
Um, I'm glad I'm glad you said that. I have a reflection character who is his main my protagonist's main reflection character. She, for a short time, was his love interest, and then becomes the reflection character. Is that okay?
Yes,
Okay, great.
but you're going to classify her as one or the other.
I'm right, and I'm classifying her as the reflection character because even though she was his love interest for a while, she basically was his reflection character. You know, she's on the same path, parallel. They everything the same thing, but she kind of gives him a little bit of guidance, but not like the mentor.
Right.
In fact, she also was mentored by the mentor, and so that's you know. So all right, great. So I
That
can
makes
do that then.
that makes her an ideal. Remember, a love interest is not necessarily the romantic relationship. Just because they
Right,
had a romantic situation does not make a character the love interest we talk about in as far as the major character. The love interest is just
right.
a character who the protagonist cares so much about that they will literally change who they are and what their flaw is based on
Wonderful.
this person's impact in their life.
Right, perfect. And I have the perfect love interest for that. Wonderful.
Perfect.
I appreciate the feedback.
It's absolutely my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Do you have any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. I really appreciate the feedback, though. It's been awesome. I really have enjoyed the class, and I feel like everything's taking shape with my characters, with my direction. I've done a lot of the deeper learning and the kind of got excited about the deeper learning parts and doing the blog, and I did a blog for my character, and
Oh, that's great.
just yeah, I'm really just getting into it. I'm really loving it.
You know, some students don't have time with their schedules to do the stuff. So I require the stuff that you got to do just to understand what we're doing. But the other stuff, it all helps. And if there's a deeper learning thing you want to do, guys, but you don't have the time to do, don't forget, because look, after you graduate, you can always come back and audit the courses you took or the courses in the
Awesome.
program for free. I
That's
don't know if you
great.
know that. But besides that, when you're not in this class anymore, you should cut and paste all the things you really like or learn or want to consider doing in the future. cut and paste them into documents for yourself to do later if you don't have time during the class.
Right on.
Yeah.
I've never done Pinterest until this program. This program got me doing Pinterest, and now that I'm doing it, I'm like, wow, this is really cool, you know.
It is.
So
And
for my characters.
it's great because you're looking at interests, and then all of a sudden your characters that email, whatever you use, is going to start getting pings of things that really would interest that character, and that can actually spark creative ideas for your character as you're creating it, because you may not know all the details of the things this character would be interested in because it's not what you would be interested in. But then
Right.
Pinterest starts sending you all these links to all these things that have to do with the things you've already said this character's interested in. So it's like it's like the library decides to bring you things you think that you should know for your characters. Instead of
Right, it's
having to
great.
hunt out all the things that you should find, it's the library's coming to you and saying,
Right.
you should look in this section under this part. This is something that might interest. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm really glad you're getting a lot out of it.
I
Um,
definitely am.
awesome. Any other questions from anybody? Make sure you.
Yes, sir. It's Trevor Wheelis again.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Wellis?
All right, sir. One quick question about the italicized questions. Those are supposed to go in as a script note, basically at the end of the script, right? We just put it as a script note and then paste them in there.
Yes, it's the last script note in the script. Don't put it in the middle.
Okay,
I go through all the notes and make sure everybody's notes make sense. But it's good to just you. I always like it when I get notes on a script that I give to my friends for feedback. The most important part to me is what everybody writes at the end of my script and what they thought overall. And so it's good
yes,
to
sir.
have that as kind of a kind of like here's an overall view at the end of reading your script. Overall, this is what I thought. This is what it left me with, and it's good to put it there because it shows it's after you've read it all.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Well, I've explained the homework. If you missed that explanation, don't worry. I am recording this session, and I am going to put it up on YouTube as soon as I can when this is over. Let me see. We have a question here. Do you have any tips on how to power through when your writing is a train wreck waiting to happen, and the conductor has taken a coffee break at exactly the wrong time? That's what I've been struggling with this month. Horrifying. Okay. Well, the first thing, look, I've been on those projects where it's just not. It feels like the train is off the tracks. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to brush up a script I never went out with because I never felt it found the tracks right the first time. And I'm right there at that point in the script where I know it's off the rails. And I'm like trying to figure out what the heck do I replace this with? Because the problem is sometimes you put something really cool in the middle, but the truth is it doesn't fit the story you're telling. It's a different movie. It just doesn't belong in the story you're telling. So you have this diversion and it's not making sense. What you have to do is find out what is working and what's right and build around that. The first thing is, identify the problem. Identifying the problem is figuring out what's wrong, what's right and what's wrong. And you keep what's right. You evict what is wrong from the process, from the creative process, and try to find the right thing to do it in. Like, for example, if you are having trouble with a premise, if you don't have a premise, you don't have anything, and that's a scary place to be. If you're having a hard time figuring out the premise, let me see if I have. Hold on one second. All right. Uh, all right. A loving relationship is worth making professional sacrifices for. Um, okay. So yeah, the issue I would the biggest issue is that when I looked at your premise is that it's something that I think everybody would agree with. You got to put your love. You got to put love ahead of money. You know, I I think that you're not convincing anybody of anything new. Um, and I would recommend saying, what is it? What is there a situation in which um, does money derail love? Does it? In some cases, it really helps because people are drawn to security. Um, and financial success can actually bring you love. And then the problem is that if that security fails, and like life does, you have ups and downs. That relationship can suffer if someone doesn't feel safe anymore or secure. Uh, and that's, I think, what a lot of relationships go through today. So the relationship between financial success and romantic success is, I think, a very important ground that can be tread. It's just about finding um, what it is that you're trying to say. And there are people where without financial success, it can make them stronger and hold tighter together, and they bond together better. And maybe the difference between true love and not true love, and a desire for security and comfort. The difference you can tell is when hardship happens. Hardship is the mustard by which true marital love proves itself. That could be a statement um, that might that it's similar to what you were saying, but then it's true, and people sometimes don't put that together. That you can love somebody and have a great time with them, and that's very easy when things are on easy street. Life is a very different story. Uh, you can write that movie if you like that premise. You can take it. Um, Anything I suggest to anybody is fair game. I don't claim ownership. These are ideas. I'm your teacher. I'm here to help you and spitball with you and be your devil's advocate and challenge you. Um, so if I say something and it really resonates and you want to use it, take it and run. And the great thing about finding a premise that really suits you and you feel you connect to, no matter how it comes, don't forget that you can use that premise repeatedly on different projects if you still feel that that's something that still needs to be said after you've written the first movie about it. Because the truth is that sometimes the world is still experiencing that problem. You have to write from where you are emotionally in your life right now. And sometimes I can write a movie that is about, that's about how financial success is the true test. Financial or lack of success, lack of security is the true test of love. Um, and I could write that as a romantic story. I could write that as a thriller. I could write that as a horror story. The thriller could be, or a crime story could be, somebody is going to, in order to secure better money, is to kill the other one to get the life insurance policy because they don't have money anymore and they've lost everything and they need to kill them before the life insurance policy ends because they can't afford to upkeep it. And that could become a thriller. With the same statement, you can make it a love story about a guy who never got with this girl or a girl who never got with this guy, but they married someone else, and then that relation falls apart, and it's the old friend that comes through, and you see where true love really is. Um, and you could take any premise and throw it into any other genre and make a completely different movie, and that's always fun. So that's the great thing about having a great premise. Now, does anybody else? Great, more people have joined us. How wonderful! Does anybody else have any questions that they would like to ask at this time? Make sure you unmute your microphone if you do, because I can't hear you if you don't. And I am not seeing anybody click or ask a question or put it in the chat box. So I did, for those of you who just joined us, I already went over the homework assignments, and I'm going to post this on YouTube and send that link to everybody as soon as it's live so that you can all hear exactly, because sometimes hearing some instructions explained verbally, everybody learns differently. There are three major ways of learning. Actually, Professor Odom thinks there's 16, but there are majorly three ways we learn. Some people learn better through hearing it, some people learn better from seeing it, and some people learn better from doing it or writing it. And sometimes some people learn better from hearing it explained. So so that's why I do these, and I make sure that you can hear it out loud. And that's it. So let's have all a wonderful day. Do some great writing. I believe in all of you. Don't forget, your next assignment is always your biggest potential for another A plus. So just keep working, keep plugging away, read everything, and then follow the instructions if you can. And if you have questions, you guys always have my email. My cell phone number is at the beginning of the class. So just use that during, appropriate business hours, 10 to 5 p.m. On weekdays. And kick butt on your writing. I believe in you. All right. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you for showing up.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.